Good afternoon. At this time, I'd like to call our Suffolk City Council work session to order. First item for discussion is the Suffolk Center for Cultural Arts update. Mr. Manager.
Yes, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. With us this evening is Lorelei Costas-Morrow, Cultural Arts Executive Director, and she's going to provide us an overview of some things we've been going over the past year, including some of the renovations. Welcome this evening.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Moore, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Thank you for having me today. I hope I'm here to put a smile on your face and bring you some good news, because it is mostly very good news from the Arts Center. We've had a great year, and I just want to give you an update, as Mr. Moore said, on the renovations in the building, some of the programs that we've had over the past year, and some programs coming up. Last time I was in front of this group was 9 months ago, so I have a little bit to catch you up on, and I'm excited for that. So thank you for your time today. Our board recently tweaked our mission statement, so big news. Well, not really. It's the heart and soul of our mission is still the same, and it is to cultivate and promote the creative arts for all residents and visitors through programs and education. We are deeply committed to the economic vitality of downtown Suffolk and the greater Suffolk area, and our aim is to inspire our community and to enrich lives through the arts. And as you well know, we are a comprehensive arts center. We're much more than just our 500-seat theater. We have 2 wonderful galleries. We have all sorts of classes and studios. We have summer camps. We have great education programs. We have a space for community events, arts, weddings, celebrations, reunions, all sorts of learning. So we're really a comprehensive arts center. And as I said, it's really been a great year, and I'm going to touch really briefly first on the galleries. We have a new visual arts manager. She's been doing a great job. We've had some fantastic exhibits over the past year, and I hope you've gotten a chance to see some of them. Right now, up in our galleries, we are hosting once again the Sister Cities International Exhibition, which is student artwork from children in Suffolk, both public and private schools. I wanted to tell you about one exhibit in particular that we hosted in November, because that was in cooperation with Economic Development, and that was a really different exhibit for us. It was called Taken Care of Business. Usually our galleries have these wonderful works of arts, paintings, sculpture, pottery, carvings, all sorts of things. This one had beautiful works of art, but it also had a number of artifacts, and this was with a lot of help from the Nansemond Suffolk Historical Society. We had photographs and artifacts that told the story of Suffolk's businesses, particularly downtown, then and now. And so it was a really kind of different exhibit for us. And the highlight for me was portraits by Alan Brown of business owners in downtown Suffolk. And we were really glad to host those portraits and to have all those folks in the galleries with us. And it was really kind of a celebration and some storytelling of businesses in Suffolk. So that was neat. That was a little bit different for us. We've had a great year of performances in our theater and down in our ballroom. So the picture that you have on the left is some African drumming that we brought in concert with Arts for Learning earlier this year. That was a school performance. And then on the right, we had an evening this fall of some local bands, including Cool Tones. Our very own airport manager is playing guitar there. We've hosted Lion King. That was in concert with Hurrah Players. They are a local group. Lots of kids. I love having kids up on our stage in the Birdsong Theater. Fabulous, fabulous costumes. That was a great production. On the left is a production that we just hosted this past weekend, and that was called Icons. And the lady in yellow is a lady from Suffolk, Malika Harris, and she put together this production. And it was a celebration of women across the decades singing just the great songs. So everything from Beyonce to the Supremes, Aretha Franklin, Janis Joplin. The Janis Joplin was amazing. Oh my gosh, their Whitney Houston was so good. She sang the one, I Will Always Love You, with that really high note. She killed it. It was so good. We also had a musician earlier this year, and that's him on the right, and he is with a young woman named Emma Janito. I hope I'm pronouncing her last name right. She is a 5th grader from Florence Bowser. We did an essay writing contest in conjunction with this performance. And we invited 5th graders from across Suffolk to answer the question, if you found a magic wand, what would you do? And she won first place, which means she won tickets to the show. Her teacher got tickets to the show. I want to read you her essay because it was pretty awesome. So this is The Magic Wand by Emma Janito. I was walking home from school one day and I found a wooden box on my porch. It was magical, awesome, and somewhat mysterious. It lit up. It swirled around me like it was gushing for life. I read a note that said, "This wand has the power to change the world, but be careful, you can only wave it once." I thought of several things, and the one thing that I would change is childhood bullying. All kids deserve to be happy and want to go to school. I would never let them get bullied again. As I waved my wand around, it flashed like my picture was being taken. Suddenly, there was no more bullying. And then I woke up to the beeping of my alarm and realized it was just a dream. But I will still do my part to make the world a better place. I thought that was a pretty awesome essay, so no wonder she won first place. We have been partnering with a local organization called Culture Arts to bring a production that we've been calling Showtime at the Center. And it's very much like Showtime at the Apollo, if you're familiar with that show. And it's like a local talent show, but the audience picks the winners by cheering or booing for the acts that they like or don't like so much. And that's been super popular. We've hosted 3 of those, and I'm hoping we'll host another one in April. So that's been super fun. Earlier today, we had Valerie Davis on our stage, and she was portraying Coretta Scott King. So we've been really, really busy with school shows and lots of performances up on our stage. But I have to say, for me, the highlight of our year, and I know I talked about this with you last time I was visiting, because we had just booked the Kiev City Ballet when I came in front of you last summer. And that was really the highlight of the year for me, because we hosted 45 of the world's premier ballet dancers. And if you look at that photo on the right and you look at where, that's one of their stock photos, and you look at where they normally perform, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 balconies. And to have them in Suffolk on our stage, it was such a tremendous honor. So how did that happen? How did we bring one of the world's great ballet companies to Suffolk? It's actually a tragic story, which is that these dancers had just left on tour for Paris, and the next day their country was invaded, and this company found themselves without homes. And they continued their tour and kept continuing it because they couldn't go home. It wasn't safe to go home. Many of them still had families at home. They lost friends and family to the war. They decided to come to the United States, and when we saw word of that, we're part of a presenters consortium. When we saw they were coming to North Carolina, we thought, what if we could get them here? And we did. We got them for a 5-day educational residency. We raised some amazing support very quickly from the community to cover that costs. And it was just an amazing week with those folks. We gave them such a warm welcome. In fact, I want to read you an email we recently got from their artistic director, Ivan. He wrote it to our creative director, and he wrote, and this was back in February, "I would just like to thank you again for your warm welcome. When we were in Suffolk and on our U.S. tour in general, we were absolutely exhausted and overwhelmed. There wasn't a moment to catch our breath. Suffolk was a refuge for the company. We remember our time in the Center for Cultural Arts as a moment of peace in an especially hectic time of our journey. I hope we can tour to Suffolk again. When we do, we will have more time to better get to know the beautiful people at the Cultural Arts Center and share our ballet with the audience. Thank you for your extraordinary kindness." And this was intended for all of Suffolk, not just the Cultural Arts Center, because I really think our community just embraced these dancers and their families. As you can see, this was the reception we had when they first arrived to our city, and the whole ballroom was festooned with these little messages that children had written, love messages saying, "Welcome to Suffolk. be brave, be strong, all sorts of amazing messages. You'll see the little ballerinas at the bottom of the stairs. They were from Alanje Dance Company giving sunflowers, which is the national flower of Ukraine, to each of the dancers when they arrived. The ladies on the right were from the Tidewater Ukrainian School. At that opening reception, they sang the Ukrainian national anthem for them. They sang other Ukrainian folk songs, and it was really, I hope, a very special welcome for them. And what an honor it was to have them here. We had them, they did an open rehearsal for school groups one day. That was absolutely amazing. They did some master classes one day for local dance students. We had one for children and one for adults. And I asked one of the dancers on her way out how it went, and the only thing she told me was, I survived. So doing a master class with one of the world's great ballet dancers has got to be very intimidating, but she survived. One night they did the Virginia premiere of an original composition they did called Tribute to Peace. And then the next night they did the full-length Swan Lake in the Birdsong Theater, and it was an amazing production, and what an honor to have them here. But I will say one of the most amazing things about this experience to me was going back to that welcome reception when they first arrived. We asked the Peanut City Cloggers to come and perform and give them a little bit of a taste of Suffolk when they arrived. And so the Peanut City Cloggers, and they were just back from a regional competition where they had done really well. They did a couple pieces for the ballet company, and they were so impressed. They asked the Cloggers to come back to their performance Wednesday night and perform during the intermission, which they did. By the way, the Peanut City Cloggers, the following month, and you probably know this, went on to Tennessee to a national clogging competition, won 5 first-place awards. So I would offer that perhaps Suffolk has an amazing world-class dance company as well. So it's not just ballet around here. We've got our own quintessential American-style dance. So I want to just mention again how much support we got from the community very quickly to bring this company here. And that was just an awesome experience. So thank you all so much. We have so much coming up at the center. I'm going to talk just really quickly because I really want to see you in the center for some of these things coming up. We've got Finding Nemo. They're doing the East Coast premiere. This is an official Disney production. They're doing the East Coast premiere this weekend in Norfolk and then next weekend here in Suffolk. So I'm super excited about that. It's going to be a lot of students in this show, local students. We get a lot of actually requests for Patsy Cline tributes, so we're doing a Patsy Cline tribute. One of our most popular gallery exhibits is Walk on the Wild Side. This year's theme is the Great Dismal Swamp. So it will be wildlife from the Great Dismal Swamp. And not just photography, we also have carvings, we also have paintings, drawings, all sorts of media. We will be hosting once again the Chuan University Choir. They will be joined by choirs from the Suffolk Public Schools. That's going to be in April. Masters of Soul, I'm very sorry to tell you, if you haven't heard, their drummer passed away actually the night before they were supposed to perform in January. Terrible car accident. They are coming in May. We rescheduled with them, so we're really looking forward to that show. That was a millimeter away from a sellout. That's a really, really popular one in our show. We've got summer camps coming up, art, music, theater, and STEAM. STEAM being science, technology, engineering, art, and math. You know, some people say STEM, we say STEAM. I just want to remind everybody that we have a very robust scholarship program for that summer camp. We have never turned a student away with financial needs, so please spread the word. If you've got any young people that you know who are interested in the arts, we want to have them at our summer camp. Also, every Saturday this spring, we have the Art Academy, which is sort of a la carte different art classes, all different topics for kids of all ages. So send your young people to that as well. We are so delighted to be partnering once again with the Suffolk Art League for the Suffolk Plein Air Festival, and that's coming in September. You know about this event. I've talked to you about this event before. And what's amazing about this event is we bring in artists from all over the country. Actually, we even have somebody coming from the Netherlands. So it's officially international. 40 artists come to Suffolk, spend several days, all around the city, painting different landscapes in plein air, in the open air, which is really hard because your subject matter is moving. The trees are swaying in the breeze, the water is moving, maybe you're painting some chickens, whatever it is, all that stuff is moving, the light is changing, you're contending with the weather, it's time limited. It's a really neat art form and it's really taken off. We have a big reception at the end of the festival where all of these pieces of art are judged. By the way, they're also for sale. What I love about it is it's a celebration of Suffolk, and I think that's why we attract such great artists, is because our city has so many diverse landscapes and places to paint. You've got everything from the swamp to riverfront, a working waterfront, farmland, of course, historic homes, a vibrant downtown. We've got our quick draw competition, and that's on Saturday. That's open to artists of all abilities. It's a really, really neat festival, so I hope you'll join us for that. And as I mentioned, this quick draw competition, it coincides with the Taste of Suffolk. Super, super fun, and we always get, it's open to anybody to participate in that element. We always have kids painting in it too, so that's really, really fun. I hope you stop by and watch the artists at Taste of Suffolk. So, the renovations update. First, I want to thank the city so very much for investing in our renovations. You all know that our building is 100 years old. She's showing her age just a little bit. We've had some significant, I like to call it water incursion. Over the past 10 years, I have been told that I just need to call it leaks. Yeah, we've had some water damage from the leaks, but we are addressing it, and we've been raising money for it, and I want to thank you so much for your help with that. Our top, well, I'll just back up and say work started in July of 2022. We believe it will be finished in February of 24. Believe it or not, we're actually on schedule. All right, where's wood? So far, we are on schedule. Our top priority is addressing the leaks in the building, addressing them in terms of fixing the water damage and also taking measures to protect the building from future water leaks, and I'll talk about that more in a minute. We've also been updating the sound and lighting system in the theater and the ballroom and our seats. Coming up this summer, we'll be covering and regrading the pergola walkway that leads from the parking lot to the center, and I'll talk about that more in a little bit. We've had an issue come up, which is that we need some repairs to our floors. We've been able to shift the budget that I believe we'll be able to cover it with our existing budget. We've had to let go of some other projects, but we've been able to shift. So knock on wood, all of this will happen. I'll tell you a little bit more about the floors in a minute. Addressing the leaks. The northeast wall is done. We started with the wall with the most leaks and the most damage, and that was the first wall done, and we finished that back in January. And I have to tell you, it worked. And I'm so delighted it worked. So, as you know, the building is brick. We took down the plaster, and the plaster was off for some months, and you could watch it really needed to rain for a good half a day before it started coming in, but you could see it seeping through the bricks and start dripping down, and it was so obvious when the plaster was gone. But once we replaced the windows, we added the cap flashing to the perimeter of the roof, and we added just the first coat of the Tenemic, the sealant on the masonry. Night and day, dry. So it's worked. So I'm so excited about that. The northeast wall is complete. We're now working on the front of the building. So this includes replacing the windows, of course, redoing all the trim work, because a lot of that trim work, that wood was plumb rotten. Like you could poke a hole in it with your finger. Fixing the damaged plasters, replacing the cornices, replacing window flashing, the cap flashing I mentioned around the perimeter of the roof, sill pans, weep holes, fixing masonry. I'm anticipating some nice energy savings from this. Our electric bill is pretty outrageous, and I'm anticipating a nice savings because the new windows are double pane. And when we took the plaster off, we're adding insulation back in before we put the new wallboard up. So hopeful that we're going to see a reduction in our energy bill. My pictures, unfortunately, I'm a terrible photographer, so this didn't come out real well, but that's the water dripping down, and then the picture on the right is the puddle from that. So that's, what we could watch when the plaster was off. This is, of course, some of the crumbly plaster. So this is the before image, and these are our beautiful windows afterwards. So the windows completely match. Now, they are aluminum clad, which means that we won't have problems of rotting windows, but in terms of the profile of the windows, it's a match, and we did have them custom made for that. So this is the same window before and after. You can see we had some safety concerns with the windows on the left, and those are the new windows on the right, and that does show you the Tanemic coating on the outside. So this is that northeast wall, and you can see sort of the contrast color on the trim work to really make those architectural features pop. If you don't recognize the room on the left, it's because it's been closed for years because of the water damage. We had damage to the floor. That room has basically been junk storage for years, and now we've been able to reopen it as a classroom. So I'm so excited to tell you that we now have this new classroom open in the building. So what's next? We are working on the front of the building now. Then we move to the southwest wall. Each of these walls takes a full 6 months of work. The pergola walkway we will start in August, and that will be a 3-month project. We've got some flooring repair, so now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about floors. We have about 11,000 square feet of old pine floor in the building, and it's beautiful, and it's 100 years old, and unfortunately, it's on its last legs. There are very significant trip hazards in the places in the plank that have just sort of eroded away. There's, chunks missing, and it's been sanded down to the tongues. Unfortunately, we explored options for repairing this floor, and it's not feasible. We don't have the materials for it, and the wood's in too bad shape. So we do have to replace that wood. In addition, we have some subfloor issues that we have to work on. Again, the building's 100 years old, but we've been able to shift some items in our budget, and I believe we'll be able to make it work in our budget. Our goal was $4.5 million, and we are at $4.3 million, and the vast majority of that money is from folks here in Suffolk. And of course, the city, you all invested significantly in this project with $1 million last year, and I thank you so much for that. It's making such a big difference. I think this building has always been a public-private partnership, and your leadership on that really inspired a lot of significant donors to give. One of the first questions I was asked many times over was, is the city doing anything? And when we could answer yes, that made a difference for a lot of significant gifts. So thank you so much for investing in us. We do have $200,000 left to go. I feel like I'm in mile 20 of a marathon. Those last 6 miles are like the hardest ones, but we will get there. And we are open for business through all of this. These are a couple plywood walls that we erected in our lobbies to sort of shield the window replacement from the rest of the lobby space so we could continue to use the lobbies safely for our guests. And we had some artists do these murals on them. They're only up for a few walls, but at least it made the lobbies fun and interesting and artistic. So I was excited about that project. The pergola walkway is coming this summer. And this, the pergola walkway, we've got this beautiful pergola on top, but it's actually not got a roof, so you get pretty wet on the walk from the parking lot to the building. In addition, it needs to be regraded because there are some puddles, some significant puddles. I admit that I do not wear sensible shoes. I know y'all can't see my shoes, but the people in the audience are agreeing. I don't wear sensible shoes. The water just goes right into ladies' shoes, let me tell you. But we're a venue that hosts a lot of formal events, lots of weddings, dance recitals, etc. So we are going to be removing the brick. We're saving the brick because there's a lot of donor names etched in them. We're removing the brick. We have to regrade that concrete, putting the brick back down. We're going to still be using the same columns, but we're turning it into an A-frame, and then we're using Caldwell panels, which are like these translucent panels that will shield our guests from the elements as they walk along. And we're adding a gutter and downspout system that will tie into the stormwater system. Actually, both buildings have, some flooding issues from that impervious surface, so that's going to fix that. This is just kind of a mock-up of those panels so you can envision what it looks like, the roof, and that's a drawing so you can see that it's turning into just a lightly sloped A-frame. So if you can picture that, that's coming this summer. I want to talk to you a little bit about challenges because it can be a challenging time to do business. I think you're probably hearing that from all of your constituents. It's a challenging time to do business. It's a challenging time to raise a family and maintain your household. Costs are rising. Let me tell you, last year, the costs of our summer camp, the curriculum and instructors, we partner with another organization, went up 50%. We cannot increase tuition for our families by 50%. We did not increase tuition at all for summer camp last year. This year, we're increasing it by 10%, but the early bird price is still lower than the regular price. A lot of our artist fees have gone up 30 to 50%. And I know all of the businesses that you're talking to, nonprofits that you're talking to, are experiencing the same thing. Just costs keep rising and rising. It's a really difficult time to hire. I would add, especially for a nonprofit, we like to hope that our employees are rewarded by the joy of working for a good cause, but that makes it really hard to hire. So it really is a tough time to do business. I am keenly focused on the sustainability of our building because we are 16 years old now, and a lot of our equipment, it's a big, complicated building with a lot of equipment. A lot of our equipment is 16 years old. So we're really trying to build some plans and some budgets in place to enhance our sustainability so that we're here for the next 100 years serving the community. I want to thank the city so much for all your partnership. We do so much with the city between tourism, parks and recreation, the library. We work with y'all. You all donated extra police staffing during the Key residency. That was so appreciated by the dancers and by our staff. Y'all have done trainings for us, active shooter training, EMS training. Anytime y'all want to train in our building, I invite fire, EMS, come train in our building, know our building backwards and forwards. We want to be prepared for the things that we hope will never happen, but we want to make sure to keep our guests safe if they ever do. We love working with Suffolk Public Schools, school shows, gallery exhibits in our hallways, choral performances coming up. So please, anytime you have an event, you need a venue, please give me a call. Does anybody have any questions?
Okay, thank you, Lorelei. Council, questions or comments? Councilman Fawcett?
Thank you, Laurel. I appreciate you coming out tonight and giving us your presentation. First off, the amount of things you all do is extraordinary, and I appreciate that support you're giving to the community, and the center is really a real focal point, in my opinion, of Suffolk. And, this gives our kids a place to go and our older adults or whoever. And the shows are extraordinary. You've done a lot in this short time you've been there. I did have a chance to tour that building, if you remember, when we were looking at the damages and how we were going to approach it. And I'm amazed by what I have seen just in the pictures. I haven't been over to see the finished product, but what I have seen is just great. That is fantastic, and that will give us many years of mileage. And I see the building exterior being worked on as well, and it's quite impressive to see that. It's I think one thing to say that a city may have partnered with you, but what the community has stepped up and done also to donate to the center to help get to the goal and the money that you were trying to get to, which was a pretty good price tag if you look at it.
Yeah.
But y'all have really moved the dial on that and really have done well. I think it's time to get to that finish line, get to that 4.5, whatever, to get there so you can do those things you need to do. I'd like to encourage you to continue to ask. There's times in the budget are coming. Don't be afraid to ask. You might not get everything you want, or we may not be able to do everything, but if you don't ask, you won't know. So I don't know what I think I've got an idea what you've done this year, but I encourage you to always ask for additional help
Thank
if
you.
you can. It's not a guarantee, but I'd rather you ask than not ask. But we're hoping that you have a great year this year as well,
Thank you.
throughout the rest of the year. And I look to continue to see great things over there at the center, and particularly the way it has come to life and gotten fixed and got that water situation. That is just crazy what has happened to that building. But it's a big ticket expense. But the after it's fixed and you look at it, it's just wonderful. So thank you for coming and giving us the information. And we hope to see you over at the center.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please come back and see the renovations. The dance studios look great.
Council, any other questions or comments? Councilman Rector?
Just a quick one, and first of all, let me say, I've never been there and not had a great time. Y'all put on and bring great shows for the city of Suffolk. My question involves the restaurant downstairs. I know it's a challenge keeping somebody in there, and I think the location obviously has a little bit to do with it. You know, the entrance is not on on Main Street or anything. Is there anything that we, and particularly, I guess, the city can do to try to help promote that there is a restaurant there and keep somebody there? Because I think being able to have, a place to eat or get a drink before or after a show is, it helps with the overall success of the center.
Yeah, thank you for that. Delish started up, right around the Kiev Ballet, so that would have been September, and they've just closed. They were under the umbrella of Cayo Hueso, and that is still the tenant for the space. And so Mr. Beardsley is reopening another version of the plaid turnip in that same space. So he will be opening as soon as he can get his last permits, I believe. So that will be open for lunch Tuesdays through Saturday, I believe, 11 to 4. We will take all the help we can get to promote that space. We're privileged to host a tenant in that space, and I think the restaurant adds a lot to the center. You're absolutely right, it's off the beaten path, so that makes the marketing even more important. Thank you.
Council, any other questions, comments? If not, Lorelei, I just want to start by saying I'm really impressed with your revised mission statement.
Thank you.
It really says it all in a nutshell. A big part is how you're reaching, into the community and how you're involved. I'm impressed with the programs that you've had all year. Obviously, us being able to have the Kiev Ballet perform in our city was, I think, larger than most people realize. The Art Center is absolutely a huge part of our downtown revitalization plans. So continue the good work, and I wish you well and Godspeed with your renovations.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. All right, our next item for discussion will be a broadband initiatives update. Mr. Manager?
Yes, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. Tonight with us is Eric Collins with Charter Spectrum. Also, Randa Gachan, Senior Analyst. They both will be providing part of the presentations. Eric, welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. It's good to be with you again. I think the last time we were here was in August. We've done a lot since the last update. One of our commitments was that we would come at least every 6 months to provide an update as to where we were at with the broadband build that we're currently doing here in the city. With me today, also, I think he was here last time, is Matt McCall. He is our local manager of construction. The good thing about having Matt and having our local team doing the construction, typically when we do these large-scale constructions, we bring in an outside contractors to manage and do the builds. Fortunately for this particular build, we kept the local construction team engaged. So Matt is, they live here and his team work here. So they know the residents very well. They see them each and every day they're there. So it's good that he is managing this project to ensure that every resident receives the service and the timeline that we're going to build out, that we will meet that timeline. So since July, we've laid 148.6 miles of fiber, which is the conduit, and then we had the fiber in that here in the city. Prior to that, we had actually, from the last update, we'd only built and activated 100 homes. So to date, Matt and his team has done a great job at speeding this process along to 148.6 miles, activating 1,601 homes of the 4,044 households that we're going to be building here in the city. If you look, we did provide a map for this update. So the map that you see there, those areas there around Highway 13, that Whaleyville-Holland area, those are the address points in the area shaded in green that we have completed. They have been released in those households, so they're able to receive our broadband service and other services. That in the mint green is the areas that they're currently working. So construction is going on in those areas. The yellow-orange area, that's out of the city. So what this map is the total project, which includes the city of Suffolk, Olive White, and Southampton County. So a closer look here at this map. I think this is the Whaleyville area here, and those address points that we have released for sale, and the Holland area as well. There's an area there along the North Carolina boundary that they're currently working to get those activated. And so in the way of what's going to be going on next, residents are going to be seeing a lot of activity. We're going to be bringing in-house construction contractors. We were had contractors coming in as third party, but we're going to be bringing our in-house contractors in to do and speed up this process of construction. Over the next couple of months, we're going to see a lot of activity going on with our contractors. So you're going to be seeing a lot of trenching, installation of conduit. When you see the orange conduit in the roads and residents, a lot of times they'll think that's fiber is ready. But it's just a conduit bank that we use to pull the fiber through. After the conduit is put in place, another contractor will come back through, pull the fiber through. At that point, still, the customers think the fiber's ready. It's not. Then there's a third wave where the fiber splicers come through. They splice. And then upon testing of those fiber banks and those OLTs, Matt and his team will do the testing, and then they'll release those address points for sales. And then from that point, residents are able to call and receive service. The interesting thing about releasing those address points, and the great thing that we're doing, that we've partnered with Randa and her team here, is that Matt actually provides the household and the addresses. And from that point, Randa talk about this. So the city has an interactive map that residents can look at, and they can tell exactly on time where and what's being activated. After the splicing, then we actually ready for installs. This is a fiber to the home build. So there's a direct fiber to the home where residents actually receive the best technology that they can receive to receive all of our services. And we continue to look forward to serve the city of Suffolk. Our teams are working hard, and we're always here to answer any questions. And let Randa handle this, and then I'll be glad to answer any questions.
You got one more, Eric. You got one more.
I got one more. Oh, I'm sorry. This is one I added. There's always a question about affordability. There's actually two programs. The FCC has what they call the Affordability Connect program. It's a program by which the FCC pays for broadband services for those citizens that meet a standard of their child receives a free or reduced lunch. If they receive a free and reduced lunch, they can actually go onto a government website, and what they do is they fill out an application. They fill out a form. And when that form is filled out, the government will determine who the provider is in that area, and then they will there's two providers that reach out to both providers. And they will determine from that point the cost effectiveness of which provider would be providing service. In essence, with the ACP program is actually free internet service. It's a $30 fee that the federal government pays. And with our ACP program being a participant in it, in essence, those residents receive broadband at no cost. That includes a Wi-Fi modem. We have no data caps. So that is a great program. We don't know how long that ACP program is going to last. We don't know how, the federal government said the program is going to last as long as the money lasts. So we don't know how that, however, Charter Communications has our own internal low-cost service called Spectrum Internet Assist. Spectrum Internet Assist is a $17.99 cost. It's for residents for the same as ACP. Another caveat of that is also for senior citizens. Seniors that receive a Social Security supplemental income, they qualify also for this $17.99 for broadband services. So, you know, we are partnering in two different ways for low-cost broadband service, and we look forward to serving those residents who meet those qualifications.
Good evening. So just wanted to update you guys on what comes next after this update. The next project update will be coming to you guys in mid to late summer. But in the interim, if you have any questions or any constituents have any questions, we will have some updated mapping that'll be released on the city's website, which is suffolkva.us/broadband. That mapping will also be updated with the progression of this project. So basically the maps that you've seen tonight will be very soon updated to the map, the interactive map that's on the city's website right now. So with that, just stay tuned for additional broadband, exciting broadband updates and lots of exciting things that are happening for the expansion throughout the entire city. Questions?
Good, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Collins. Council, questions or comments? Quiet up here. Here we go. Councilman Bennett?
Yeah, on the connection with the residents, how are they notified that the fiber is already there and they can get connected?
They get door hangers, excuse me, door hangers or mailings.
Okay, so they are going door to door, putting door hangers in the
Or they
neighborhood?
get mailings, yeah, like postcard mailings.
Okay, that was a question that had been asked to me, where they're putting the lines, how were they gonna know when they can connect to it, so, okay.
Yeah, typically the construction crew, when they're finished, they actually go and hang door hangers.
Okay.
That's a typical way of we do it.
Okay, and the price is increasing or staying the same?
Price is what it is. It stays the same.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Actually, I'll bring this up. A lot of times with new customers, there's always promotional rate cost and offerings for 12 months, and it's significantly lower. So that's a good thing.
Well, not throwing anything out there, but I was watching Cox and all, they was talking about the different companies coming in and negotiating with customers, and they were ready to negotiate. So I guess you all are the same way, y'all ready to negotiate.
We love customers.
Thank you.
Councilman Johnson?
And right now, just for the public, are we still on schedule to complete the process by, more or less?
Well, they have 36 months to complete the project under the contract for VATI, but I think we'll probably,
And we're how many months in?
less than a year. I think we're
Okay, so
10 months
24
in. So
Good.
in July, we
Well,
started.
I congratulate you though on the progress. It seems like all over what I call the old county part of the city, it is moving. There's a lot of activity going forward.
Yeah, the one thing that we did is that we got ahead of the curve. The the contract was signed well after our start date.
Right.
So we started ahead. The contract terms were probably like 8 or 9 months in. It's projected right now for the city of Suffolk that we will probably turn this project around and be completed a lot sooner than what we thought.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Council, any other questions or comments? If not, Mr. Collins, or Brandon may be able to answer this also. How do we publicize the programs that are out there that will provide the low-cost hookup or assistance, both the federal program and Spectra's program?
So that information is on our website, on the broadband portion of the website, and it is also linked on Spectrum's website. So just often and frequently sharing our website on social media and, making sure that our citizens know that information is available to them to go on and qualify for those programs is really the best way to reach the citizens, short of, I don't know what kind of promotional things that Charter does to push that program, but on the city's behalf, we do have social media pushes that go
And
out.
it's on both programs?
Yes, the programs that are available through Charter.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Collins. Thanks for your presentation and your update.
Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, our final item is a Route 17 and Shoulders Hill Road project overview. Mr. Manager?
Yeah, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, with us tonight is Robert Lewis, Director of Public Works, who's going to provide the overview.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council. Quick overview tonight on several projects up in the northeast quadrant of our city. First, we're going to talk about Shoulders Hill and Bridge Road, and then ultimately going to inform you about a couple other projects that are coming behind that. So what was the project? Again, this was done because of the significant growth up in that area of the city and the fact the functionality of that intersection had degraded. And again, those planned improvements have been there to add additional capacity to this intersection for quite a while. Again, the scope of the work is completely a rebuild for about 1,000 feet on 17 in one direction. Actually, my numbers may be wrong. 2,200 feet in one direction, 3,300 feet in the other direction, 1,500 feet on Shoulders Hill. So essentially, we're going to rebuild that entire intersection up there. Includes an upgrade to the traffic signal, additional turn lanes, stormwater management, and a number of other facilities to accommodate pedestrians and bicyclists. You may recall you've seen these drawings before. So these drawings are what's available on our city website, our project website to show this. Again, this is looking to the western side or the northern leg, as the case may be, on 17. The eastern leg as the crow flies, but the southern leg as far as the cardinal direction for 17. And then finally, this is the overview of what's being done and proposed to be on Shoulders Hill Road. Kind of an overview, zoom in on that. So dual left turn lanes in several of those movements, free flow right out of Shoulders Hill on the Bridge Road. And again, will be a very much new and much higher capacity intersection. So again, we've got all the demolitions done. We're trying to get all the overhead utilities moved. The project has been advertised. We do have a contractor ready to go to work on this project. However, we have been waiting on the private utility companies, one in particular, for a number of months. And that has to be done before we can do the final release of this contract to the contractor to begin construction. So again, you remember the original construction was we were going to advertise this in December of 2021. Construction was going to start in the spring of 22. And yes, we are just shy of March 15, 23. So we've been delayed over a year by this utility delay. And again, construction was about 2 years later in March of 24. Currently, what we've done, we have been working very diligently with that company. And actually, I went out and reached out and asked the State Corporation Commission to give us some assistance, and they have so. And again, we are hoping right now, I got an email just a little while ago before this meeting started. They're committed to having the copper part of this completed by the end of next week, and they're waiting to give us the final answer on the fiber. But they have unofficially told us within 2 weeks they'll have it all done. been telling me 30 days for the last year. But again, we do seem to have a little more progress ongoing, a little more intention on this. So with that, we're hoping that we will be fully able to execute the contract and give notice to proceed by May of this year. And again, November 2024 is our goal now to get the construction complete. Entirely done, everything buttoned up, brand new landscape and sidewalks and everything done. So also there is another phase of Bridge Road that's out there in the planning stages, is moving forward. And this essentially stops on Bridge Road headed towards Harborview, just about where the Bennett's Creek Market was. That's about where the current project is ending. And it picks up from there and it goes through the Harborview Boulevard, that next piece of Harborview where Bridge Road, where we see a lot of congestion. Again, you can see their overall budget there is about $12.8 billion. Again, the state has funded a significant portion of this. I will note for you, though, we are July of 2026 before we anticipate beginning construction. So we still have the entire preliminary engineering process to go through, which you note starts hopefully this July, and then we have to go through the right-of-way phase. So again, it's just like a lot of these projects, it does take a little bit of while to get through all of that. Again, kind of a quick overview. I know the scale is kind of small, and again, all of this information is available on our Public Works Capital Improvements Program website that you can blow up on that. But again, the intent is to extend the 6-laning, 2 additional lane in each direction on Bridge Road headed towards the Harborview Boulevard interchange. And in the not too distant future, I'll be coming back to you to talk about what can and should be done to the Harborview Bridge Road intersection, which is a very big deal. So again, we're going to need some council guidance on that. Behind that, we've got certainly this first 1,500 feet of Shoulders Hill that takes you down to Laycock Lane that's getting ready as part of this intersection project. But there are 2 additional phases of Shoulders Hill Road that are already in the works. Phase 2 will go from Laycock Lane all the way to Bennett's Creek Park Road. Again, it's about $9.6 million. Preliminary engineering is scheduled to start next September. One positive on this, though, with some of the possible development that's getting ready to go on some of that adjoining property, some of this may kick off and occur much earlier. So the developers may do some of this work and take part of the scope of this out of our project, which would save us time and money. So we may have some good news coming back for you. But again, that does not begin design until next September, and construction is not slated to begin until July of 2027. And then finally, phase 3, which again will pick up from the Bennett's Creek Park Road and essentially take you down to Pewsville Road, Bob White Lane, right in that area. Again, about a $15.7 million project. Again, slated to begin preliminary engineering in September of 2025 and construction in August of 2028. Again, the state has put some money in there, and we are certainly hoping as we go along and get closer to construction, we will have acquired more state and federal money to offset some of the money that's at this point proposed to be city funds. Again, I apologize for the scale, but as you can see, this is to widen Shoulders Hill Road to a 4-lane section through that intersection from where we stop today all the way down to the elementary school, and then continue on further south down to Pewsville. And again, all this information is available on our city website on the CIP page. And again, we get to Pewsville at this point, that's kind of where we're terminating. There are some other much longer term projects, one of which is the North Suffolk Connector. So again, some of that's got to be fleshed out a little bit and determine where those connection points are before we would look at the next phase, because again, we want to make sure it all meshes together and fits together as one cohesive system. And with that, I stand available to answer any questions that council may have on any one of these projects.
Council, questions or comments? Councilman Fawcett?
Rob, I appreciate you coming out, and I was the one that asked for you to come back and give us an update, because there was some concerns about some of that intersection change, because we weren't sure what was a take and not a take concerning Shoulders Hill, right there where ServPro's at, the Sessoms facility, and how that was going to fit in. But it looks like those are continuously not takes.
Every piece of acquisition of right-of-way and easements necessary for this project have already occurred.
Okay. And there's going to be a break in that Shoulders Hill Road from the turn lane as you turn off of Bridge Road onto Shoulders Hill. There will be a break probably down past the shopping center, correct?
I believe it's the southern entrance to the shopping center, if I remember correctly, and I can back up in slides if necessary, but I believe that is correct.
Yeah. Okay. So we're still on tap with the way it was originally, to my knowledge. It looks like the right turn off of Shoulders Hill Road onto Bridge Road. If you go back and look at your picture, it looks a little different than what was originally discussed. I know there was a BMP going to be on that little pond or something, collection area, but it looks to me like that right turn off of Shoulders Hill onto Bridge is going to be mighty tight. Is that the way we originally had planned that? Because I thought that was going to come further behind those properties and drop out onto 17 and keep it away from that intersection.
So that, if you recall, Councilman, that is back to when we were much early in the design process, and we were talking about doing something called displaced lefts, where you would come to this intersection and you would not be permitted to make a left. You would actually make a right, go down the street, make a U-turn to come back to make the left, or even to go across the street. And decisions were made. That was not a design we entertained. We went back to a more traditional intersection. So this design has essentially been the same for about 2.5, 3 years now. So, but it is, the scale can be a little bit deceiving. When you get at that, it's actually going to be a sweeping turn.
I got you.
Again, it's free flow. It'll be independent of the traffic signal. You'll come out on 17, you'll have an acceleration lane, and again, traffic will flow much smoother than it does
I got
today.
you. What's the length of the taper that's going to go into that right turn on, that sweeping turn, you know?
The taper into or out of?
Going into the actual curve, going into Bridge. Is
Uh,
it going to taper back beyond, where's that going to be enough? The problem now is the load in the mornings taking that right turn backs up quite a long way, so I don't know what the stacking is going to be on that right side.
Yes, sir. Let's see if I can work this fancy equipment here. So you can see there where the blue line is starting to taper out. That's where the right turn lane is beginning, almost even with the back of the shopping center, headed north towards the intersection. And again, that is a free flow right. So there should not be any stacking of traffic because, again, that traffic is going to be continuously flowing.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Yes, sir.
Council, any other questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. Lewis, thank you for your presentation, and I'm glad it seems like we've got a new completion date, November 24, thereabouts.
It is amazing that a piece of cable about the size of your thumb can slow a multi-million-dollar project up for over a year.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, thank you very much. Let me see. That actually concludes our work session, and we will reconvene at 6 p.m.